Are NDE accounts even real? How do we know that NDE experiencers aren't just making stuff up? Well, today, we're going to look at 5 different accounts of NDE experiences that have been verified by medical staff. Number 5. Tennis shoe. Kimberly Clark Sharp was a social worker working at Harborview Medical Center in Seattle. One day, one of her patients, Maria, a middle-aged Hispanic migrant worker, went into cardiac arrest and flatlined. The medical staff came in and eventually managed to resuscitate Maria. When Maria later awoke, she was frantically trying to explain to Kimberly that she'd left her body, was watching her resuscitation from the corner of the room, and was able to provide details on who was in the room and what they were doing. Then, Maria suddenly found herself floating outside the hospital and became distracted by a tennis shoe that she saw on a window ledge 3 or 4 floors above the ground. She described it as a man's dark blue tennis shoe, well worn, scuffed on the left side where the little toe would go. The shoelace was caught under the heel. Maria was adamant that Kimberly go find the shoe as evidence that she actually saw it. Kimberly searched all around the outside of the hospital, thinking that that would be the easiest way to spot it on the window ledge. But when that didn't work, she began going from room to room. Finally, she found the tennis shoe matching Maria's exact description on a window ledge on the 3rd floor west side of the hospital. She couldn't believe it. This discovery validated Maria's out-of-body experience when she coded, and would jolt Kimberly's recollection and validation of her own previous near-death experience. Number 4. Katie. Dr. Melvin Morse recounts the story of one of his patients, a 9-year-old girl named Katie, drowned at a YMCA swimming pool. Deeply comatose for 3 days, Dr. Morse didn't expect Katie to survive. When Katie awoke at the end of the 3rd day, she began to recount her visit to the other side. Among other things, she recalled what the first doctor to work on her in the hospital looked like, even though she was comatose and couldn't have seen him. Somehow, she recognized Dr. Morse as the second doctor to work on her. In addition, she remembered having the tubes put in her nose, which was highly unusual as they were usually placed in the mouth. She accurately described many details of her arrival at the hospital. At one point, she even mentions that during her spirit travels with an angel guide, she was allowed to visit her home and recalls seeing her brother pushing around his G.I. Joe in his Jeep, her sister combing her Barbie doll's hair and singing a popular rock song, and her mother in the kitchen cooking roast chicken and rice. She was able to accurately recount those details as well as what they were wearing. Recounting these details to her family later on understandably shocked them. All the details of her treatment in hospital, as well as the visit to her family's home, were accurate, according to Dr. Morse and Katie's family. Number 3. Rolling pen. Dr. Brian Weiss reports that a blind elderly woman had a heart attack in the hospital where he was working as a psychiatrist. As the resuscitation team tried to revive the unconscious woman, she floated out of her body and stood near the window, watching the whole thing unfold. She calmly watched them pump air into her lungs and thump on her chest. At one point, a pen fell out of her doctor's pocket and rolled on the floor close to the window where she was standing. After a little while, the doctor walked over and picked up the pen and put it back in his pocket and continued working to try and save her. He succeeded. A few days later, the woman informed the cardiologist who saved her that she had witnessed the team working to resuscitate her. Her doctor told her that she was mistaken and probably hallucinated due to the lack of oxygen in the brain. Then she gave the doctor the shock of his life. "But I saw your pen roll over to the window." She then goes on to also describe the resuscitation procedure in detail. When Dr. Weiss interviewed the cardiologist days later, he was still shaken up about how this lady, who was not only comatose during the incident, but also blind, could have seen those unlikely details, all of which were confirmed accurate. Number 2. Spaghetti stain. When Dr. Bruce Grayson was an intern, he encountered a memorable case with a patient who came into the hospital for an overdose. She was unconscious when he went to see her in her hospital room, so instead he went to speak with her roommate in another room down the hall. He had a spaghetti stain on his tie, so he covered it up with his white lab coat. During the conversation with the roommate, he also moved the fan over in the room to make the temperature more comfortable. The next morning, he went in to see if the patient had awoken, and she had, albeit still very drowsy. When he began to introduce himself, the patient, to his surprise, said she already knew who he was. She went on to describe how she had seen him and her roommate chatting in the room down the hall. She described various details of the conversation, how he moved the fan, and how he had a red stain on his tie. Dr. Grayson was baffled since she was clearly unconscious the night before, and they were in another room. This incredible encounter led Dr. Grayson to become one of the leading researchers in near-death studies today. Number 1. Dutch denture man. In the late 1970s, a middle-aged man was brought into a Dutch hospital unconscious and with no heartbeat after having a heart attack. The senior nurse, referred to as TG, reported that the man had no heart rhythm and that the first responders were unable to resuscitate him. He described him as looking awful and ash gray. Upon arrival to the hospital, one of the first things the nurse did was remove the man's dentures and place them in a drawer in the crash car. Eventually, after more than half an hour and multiple defibrillation attempts, they were able to resuscitate the man, but transferred him to the ICU and kept him unconscious due to the unpleasantness of the necessary intubation. A week later, the nurse saw the patient again when he finally woke up and was returned to the cardiology ward. TG was shocked when the patient insisted that TG was his nurse upon arrival and would know where his dentures were. The man insisted he saw everything from the corner of the room. He was able to describe details of the conversations and events when they brought him into the hospital. The patient went on to describe how TG had placed his dentures in the drawer of the crash car, a fact that should have been impossible to know since the man was unconscious with no blood pressure or heartbeat upon arrival. As TG recounts, "No, at that moment I can be 100% sure of that no rhythm, no circulation, and I cannot imagine that after all that time that there was enough oxygen in his brain to listen or see or to interpret what he observed." Thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. And if you have an NDE that you'd like to share, you can email us at travelsinthespirit@gmail.com. God bless.